So the Philadelphia Eagles remain undefeated after a hard-fought win over their NFC East rival Commanders in overtime, in which the Eagles finally seemed to fix arguably their biggest problem so far this season, with Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown lighting up the Commanders' defense through the air. But as has been the theme this entire season, the win certainly wasn't perfect, as the Eagles' defense were the ones this time around that showed major flaws. So with that, there are a lot of people still worried about the fact that the Eagles have yet to play up to their full potential this year, despite the fact that at the same time, they are 4-0. So is there actually cause for concern with the Eagles, or will everything turn out to be just fine? Well, we're going to break it all down in this video today, so let's not waste any time and get straight into it. So the Eagles pulled out another win and an exciting OT game against the Commanders to go to 4-0, making them just one of two undefeated teams left along with the 49ers, but just because they're undefeated doesn't mean there aren't any questions surrounding the team, so we're definitely going to get into those a bit later. But first, let's start with the positives from this game. The main one being that it really seems like the Eagles have almost fully figured it out on offense. I mean, obviously through the first 3 weeks, there have been a lot of concerns with the offense, as even though they haven't looked bad, we knew that there was another level that they could reach, as at times their passing game has struggled, or they've turned the football over, or they haven't been able to convert in the red zone. I mean, it just seemed like there was something missing on that side of the ball. But in this game, it really didn't feel like that, as they ended up with a total of 415 yards of offense. They scored on 7 of their 10 drives, and they put up 34 points without getting any help from the defense in terms of creating short fields with turnovers. So overall, it was a really great game from the Birds on offense. Now, the run game was honestly not as good as it has been over the past couple weeks, with DeAndre Swift absolutely dominating in weeks 2 and 3. Things definitely slowed down a little bit for them here in this game, although it definitely was not bad at all, as the Eagles still rushed for over 100 yards on just under 4 yards per carry, and DeAndre Swift, although not dominant like in the last 2 games, was still effective, as he ended up with 56 rushing yards on 14 carries with a touchdown on the opening drive. And he didn't just make a few key plays in the running game, but he also had some very crucial plays in the passing game, one of them coming in OT that helped the Eagles set up the eventual game winner. But speaking of the passing game, that's where the offense really shined on Sunday. And that was really great to see, because obviously through 3 games, we had yet to see the passing offense really fully get into a rhythm. I mean, we definitely saw flashes of it, we saw some nice plays here and there, and we also saw gradual improvement in that area from game to game, but we were all really still waiting on that breakthrough performance for the passing offense, where everything just clicked. And from Jalen Hurts specifically, we wanted to see a game where he looked like that MVP caliber player we saw him be last year. And in this game, we saw that, as Jalen Hurts easily had his best game of the season, as he ended up going 25 for 37 with 319 yards and 2 touchdowns. And throughout this game, Hurts made some really nice plays. He had some crazy accurate throws down the field. He had some big plays to put the Eagles in good scoring positions. One specifically that ended up being a key play in the game wasn't only a good play by Hurts, but more so, it was just an amazing catch by Devontae Smith, as Hurts threw a jump ball up to Smith at the end of the first half to try to get the Eagles in scoring position, and Smitty went up over rookie cornerback Emmanuel Forbes to come down with just an unbelievable grab, which then allowed the Eagles to get a field goal before the half, which obviously in a game that went to overtime was crucial. But going back to Hurts, again, he was pretty great. I mean, you can just see his level of comfortability rising as these games have gone on, and I think in this game, he did a good job of taking what the defense was giving him. I thought he did a good job of making quicker decisions, and of course, no, it was not perfect. There were some missed reads that he had and just other mistakes, but for the most part, I thought Hurts was great, and Nick Sirianni highlighted after the game that he was also very clutch.
Yeah, I thought he played clutch, just clutch. I think that's the best way to say it, like whether it was the overtime drive, whether it was the drive where we scored with about a minute plus left. I just felt like what it was, hey, we didn't have a lot of possessions in the first half, and we needed that end of half drive to get going. Clutch. I think that's the best way to say it, Marcus. I thought that's where he was.
I mean, I completely agree. When the Eagles offense needed to put together a drive and score points, Hurts was able to do that. So again, I'm really happy with how Hurts played, and one of the things that I loved from this performance from Jalen was the fact that he was taking shots down the field, which is something that we hadn't seen too much of through the first 3 weeks, but he was having success with it. And easily the main beneficiary of these downfield shots was A.J. Brown, who for the second straight week absolutely torched the opposing defense. He's now had a combined 18 catches for 306 yards in the past 2 games, and this game was the better of the 2 performances, as he ended up with 9 catches for 175 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he had Commanders rookie cornerback Emmanuel Forbes throwing fits on the sideline, as most of AJ's big plays came against him. And real quick, I do got to give Forbes a little bit of credit, as he had a few nice plays and he definitely didn't back down, but it's just tough to go up against 2 top 10 receivers in your 4th ever NFL game, and AJ specifically was the main guy torching him, with the 2 biggest plays of the day for the Eagles offense arguably being both of AJ's touchdowns, both both which came against Forbes. The first one being a 59-yarder where AJ beat Emmanuel Forbes down the left sideline, he made the catch, and then he had a great run after to get in for the score to give the Eagles their first lead of the game. And then the next one was clutch, where with just under 2 minutes to go in a tie ball game, Hertz went deep to AJ in the end zone after he had left Forbes behind with a double move, this time on the right side, and Brown hauled in the 28-yard pass to put the Eagles up a score, and then he proceeded to absolutely sun Forbes by handing him the ball when he was just sitting there looking defeated. Now, I do want to address the argument real fast that the Eagles should not have scored here on this play, and instead they should have just tried to run the clock out and then kick the field goal to win the game and not give the Commanders the ball back to have another chance to tie it. And look, I fully get that argument, but at the same time, if you can score, you score. I mean, sometimes I feel like you can get yourself into trouble by overcomplicating things, and on that play and in that situation, AJ got open on the route, Jalen made the throw, which he should have, the Eagles went up 7, and then you just gotta trust your defense to get a stop. So that's just my take on it, but regardless of whether you agree or not, that's still a great play. And it just added to the great overall game that AJ Brown had, and I think it's safe to say that this was a welcome to the NFL moment for Emmanuel Forbes. But AJ's huge game aside, the craziest part of the whole thing might be the fact that the NFL then decided to hit Brown with the quote, random drug test directly after, which is hilarious. I mean, AJ cooked the Commanders defense so bad that the league was suspicious of how well he played, but at the same time, it is a little annoying that this happens to AJ and not some of the other stars like Christian McCaffrey and other guys around the league who also went off on Sunday, not to mention the fact that the same thing happened to AJ Brown last year after he had a crazy game versus the Steelers. I mean, this definitely was not random, but hey, the man's clean, he's just that good, and the NFL has to accept that. And him and Jalen Hurts really helped show that the Birds' passing offense still can operate at an elite level, and now it's just about staying consistent and doing it throughout the rest of the season. But consistency can sometimes be tough, and that was on full display with the Eagles defense on Sunday. I mean, through the first 3 weeks, the Eagles defense was pretty great, all things considered, and especially in week 3 versus the Bucks, they were suffocating. They created turnovers, they rushed the passer well, they stopped the run, and for the most part, they held up on the back end. Not all that was true against the Commanders, though, as that Washington offense that just scored 3 points the week prior put up 31 points and 365 total yards of offense against the Birds defense. And I mean, Sam Howell and those Washington receivers were very good. The passing game was effective all game long, and a lot of the time when the Commanders needed to get points, whether it be at the beginning of the game or when they were down 24-17 or when they were down at the very end of the game 31-24, they were able to get those points. And I think that there's a couple of reasons for the Commanders offense being able to move the ball down the field consistently throughout the game. One of them being that I thought the secondary just didn't play well enough. Simple as that. I mean, we saw multiple guys getting beat throughout the game, including some of the Pro Bowl caliber guys the Eagles have, but particularly Josh Jobe, who has struggled since he's been a starter, and Terrell Edmonds, who's filling in for the injured Justin Evans. So hopefully the Eagles get healthier back there at safety soon. Maybe they make some changes in terms of personnel, but hopefully the guys just play better in the future. There's not really much else to say besides that. But then the other problem, which I honestly thought hurt them more in some of the key situations that they were put in, was the conservative nature of the play calling of Sean Desai. And no, I'm not talking about blitzing or sending pressure, because he was actually effective at utilizing that in this game. My problem was more so with how far back the corners were consistently playing off the Washington receivers all game, allowing for short completions with run after the catch opportunities. And then at the end of the game, when the Eagles just needed to get one stop to end the game in regulation, I thought they handled it really poorly, as they let Washington recover from a 3rd and 17 scenario at one point, and then on the very last play, instead of being aggressive and setting pressure and pressing up to use the back of the end zone as an extra defender, the Eagles instead decided to drop everyone back and play the goal line, and it didn't work because Jahan Dotson caught Josh Jobe leaning inside, and they were able to get an easy throw to the outside for a touchdown to tie the game and send it to overtime. So stuff like that I just don't understand. I think the Eagles need to be more aggressive in situations like that, and just throughout the game in general, I would love to see the corners playing up a bit more in crucial situations. I think if they do that, that'll give the pass rush just a bit more time to get home, and maybe the 5 sacks that the Eagles had on Sunday becomes 7 or 8. Maybe you see the Eagles defense create some turnovers, which the Eagles had none of in this game, and that will go a long way in helping the Eagles finally play a complete game where the offense and defense are complementing each other. Last year, the offense benefited from the defense giving them good field position by creating turnovers, and the defense benefited from the offense by putting up points and forcing teams to play from behind. This year, however, it's been more of a one or the other type of deal, so I'm still waiting on that complete game where both the offense and the defense play up to that standard, and the Eagles have a completely dominant effort. But I will say it wasn't all bad from the defense on Sunday. The defensive line continues to create pressure as they got 32 of those during the game. They also had 5 sacks sacks, which like I said, I think could have been a bit more, but 3 of them, by the way, came from linebacker Nicholas Morrow, who's been playing great since being elevated from the practice squad. And I mean, if Morrow keeps this up, I don't know how you can take him off the field when Nakobe Dean comes back, so that'll be something to keep your eye on. And in addition to that, Haason Reddick finally got his first sack in a big spot in the 4th quarter, which was great to see. And the Eagles defense also was able to get a stop in overtime with the Commanders getting the ball first. Reed Blankenship's forearm kept Terry McLaurin out of bounds on a crucial 3rd down, and then the Eagles got the ball back and set up arguably the best kicker in the league at this point, Jake Elliott, for the game winner, which he drilled, by the way. So huge shout out to Jake Elliott. I mean, without him, the Eagles are definitely not 4-0. But again, despite the fact that it was tough, we must remember that the Eagles are still 4-0, and they've found ways to win even while not playing their best. And I think Jalen Hurz said it best after the game, as he said, quote, "I think tension and pressure builds character. I think a win like this does a lot for the spirit of the team. It shifts the spirit of the team. It lights a fire for us to continue to grow. Winning is the main thing." I mean, perfectly said by Jalen there, winning is the main thing. The Birds are 4-0. They're undefeated, which is the important takeaway. Winning is the thing that they've done all season, and something else that's important to point out is nobody's playing at a Super Bowl level right now. I mean, last year around this time, the Eagles were definitely not playing at that Super Bowl level. They just couldn't seem to put together a complete game, and there were definitely questions despite them being undefeated. I mean, people were calling them frauds all the way up until the point where they were 8-0. But at the end of the day, they got better every week, and they built on what they did well and learned from what they didn't, and it nearly resulted in a Super Bowl title. So I think right now, this Eagles team is still building. They have problems that they do need to fix, but we see the potential of what they can be, and now they just got to put it all together and fix those problems, and I have faith that they will do just that. So no, I'm not worried after a win like this. I'm more so just excited that the Birds are 4-0 and that they have an opportunity to go 5-0 this week versus the LA Rams. So if you don't want to miss any coverage this week leading into that game, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Trust me, if you love content covering the Philadelphia Eagles, you're going to want to go do that right now. Also, drop a like on this video if you did enjoy to show some support. And if you want to watch another Eagles video, you should go check out this one right here. Now, with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.